How's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in for another author chat. So today I'm excited to have author James Worrad, also known as J.L. Worrad, author of the upcoming novel Pennyblade, coming from Titan Books. But James, how's it going today? You doing all right?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I'm actually thinking about changing my name to maybe JL, just or Jail. Just to make it easy for people. It's
Yeah.
I go by many names these days: Jim, James, JL. It's
Hopefully all of them are appropriate.
yeah. There's a few I can't mention here, but
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah, I know. You just got to keep those to yourself. But when you get down to the pub and it gets called out, you know exactly who they're talking about, right?
Oh, they've got a few names for me there. It's yeah. Well, so what's it like there at the moment? It's all bright. It's sunlight coming through.
Yeah, it's actually sunny today for the first time, but we're like literally in the midst of like it rained for 2 days and now it's sunny and then it's going to be like 40 degrees tomorrow and through the weekend. So it's
wow, blimey.
Yeah, Alabama is the weirdest state to live in if you want to talk about weather. I mean, you have tornadoes one day, potentially snow the next. There might be a hurricane, the next week, and then it's like rain, cold, hot, rain, hot, cold. You just never know. So you really have to watch the news every day to figure out what to take
out the house.
Yeah.
It sounds like a place with no climate but all weather.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like what was that movie? Is it? I guess it was Biodome that they had like all like the weather patterns and stuff. Like I feel like somebody just like flips a switch and there's like a different like you can go out and everybody's like it's 70 and sunny today, and then you go out for 10 minutes and it starts raining. You're like, wait.
Maybe Alabama's just some crazy social experiment.
I think it is. I really do. I don't get out very often, like out of the state. So maybe like they've cut the borders to the state of Alabama and they're just trying something. Who knows? Now, what about you? What's the weather like in your area? I'm sure it's dark at this point.
Yeah, well, it's England, so it's always a bit very very mild, bit of rain or whatever. It's like Alabama's mild brother, cousin, whatever. It's.
See, that's why there's a Birmingham over here, because we just share weather.
Yeah. Yeah, you keep nicking our town names.
yeah. It's, I mean, because I live in Chelsea. There's a Chelsea football club. So I mean, like clearly, we're just switching something.
Yeah. I think I'm from a place called Leicester. Every time I meet Americans, they say Leicester when they visit. Leicester. What's like I just sort of no, it's Leicester. It's a weird way of spelling it, to be honest.
It is.
There's some very odd choices.
It's not hard to confuse Americans. Let me just be honest.
It's kind of a national hobby here. Really.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys get a lot of fun out of it. I talk to Matt Holland over at the Broken Binding all the time about how people make fun of Americans. He's like, I mean, I like Americans. There are a lot of people that don't, but I'm okay with this.
You're a great bunch.
There we go. Oh geez. So just to get, I guess, on track.
Yeah.
We got to do something back again. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? How did you get into writing? Did you read a lot growing up? Was it something that hit later in life? And then kind of how you got to where you are today.
Oh God! Well,
I know it's a lot.
Big flashback. Right. Well, like a lot of nerds, I was reading from an early age, watching lots of sci-fi and fantasy. I actually got into sci-fi and fantasy reading quite late. I was more into like the weird literary stuff. And then I got to like Kafka and stuff like that, very, very pretentious. And then I got to university and a friend pushed Ian M. Banks' culture book in my hand. I think it was Player of Games. And went, mate, read that. And then I was lost. So about uni, seriously, that's when I started getting into the hefty genre use. And as for writing, again, I just do little bits of this and that, because everyone fancies themselves a writer growing up. But I remember we had a typewriter, old style typewriter in my house, and I had a book of Lovecraft stories, like a really bad one. And I remember trying to write a Lovecraft story when I was 12, I thought it had to be in Rhode Island, and so I was, so I was sat trying to. I had no idea where Rhode Island was. It was, to me, it looked a bit like Melton Mowbray, which is a place slightly up the road from me. And yeah, that was a disaster. I got about a page and then my arms hurt from typing. It's great having got word processors, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
we've done well with word processors. What are we using now? Laptops, isn't it? Sorry.
Dating yourself again.
Yeah,
typewriters.
Yeah, these new ones are good. I still haven't figured where you put the coal in. But yeah, and so that, yeah, and then I was in bands for years, and that went sort of tits up. I'm sorry, is that swearing?
Oh, you're good.
We're good. Bit of profanity, and
it's okay. I have completely went against, like, YouTube always asks me, "Is this for kids?" And I'm like, "No, it's never for kids."
It's not. They'll stop it, won't they, for any little word, won't they? Like a couple of effing and blinders, and then you get them. You
get your PG-13. You get one F, and then that's it. You know.
Right. Okay. I know where I stand now. Okay. And yeah, sorry. I was, and then I think, yeah, what was it? I just got into sci-fi writing, really. I think my mates had like a space war game he was working on. I started making sort of the races and the stuff for that coming up with the background, but that never went anywhere. But then I sort of ran along with that, and that's how I got into sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just I don't know. I just one day I was just sat drinking a glass of wine. I was outside in the garden. I was about 28, and I was smoking a rolled up cigarette, and I had a glass of wine, and I was just like, and I was looking at my notebook. I went, this is the life. I love this. I just, wow, if I could get paid for this, I've got all that's best in life, to quote Mr. Conan of the Barbarian. The very quotable Conan.
Right.
So yeah. Was that just a complete mess? Or
no, you're good. It's a lot of people go, like, oh, I've been writing since an early age. I've been writing since I was 5, and I was making up stories for my family and stuff. And you're just like, yeah, I was just having a glass of wine in the garden. I was just like, I'd like to do that.
Yeah. That was my free-form jazz explanation of how I became a writer. The only witness to it was a nearby pigeon.
I thought you were gonna say like alley cat.
Yeah, some alley cat or whatever.
All of a sudden, like, they start breaking out the Aristocats in the alley, and
So I've got a big cat following, which is it's actually quite impressive to get a whole bunch of cats to follow you. But,
you're just their leader now, and I gotcha. So I guess what made you transition from, because I know your first duology was sci-fi, what made you kind of come over to fantasy with your new release?
It was I know, actually I remember. It was basically I was going to do a role-playing game with a couple of girls, and then it was one guy, but and I came with a bit of a world, but not much. But then I realised I wasn't writing a story, a RPG game, so much as an actual novel, because I'd already written novels, And I don't know if you know much about Dungeons and Dragons and the like. Mm-hmm. If you create a game, what they call a scenario, and you start writing what the players are going to do, the players kind of frown on that, and what you've actually got there is really a synopsis for a novel.
Right.
And but Pennyblade now is absolutely nothing like what that was. And yeah. But
it started here. It's completely different. But this is kind of how I got my start.
That thing that happened is there's no relation, but it's actually kind of
that's just the point in time where it was decided that this was going to happen. I can imagine. I can imagine if you're writing out what everybody's going to do, there's like no point to the game.
Yeah, it's more of like an oral telling.
Exactly. It's like, I invited you guys over just to listen to me tell you how the game would go.
Yeah.
Should I have written it?
we've probably now discovered how Beowulf was written. It was going to be an RPG in the 6th century, and whoever it was just got carried away with just loved the Beowulf character. All these poor guys having to sit and watch him go on about it.
I was like, gosh, is he gonna stop? Like, does this ever end?
Yeah. God damn it! I'll fashion my own dice out of wood.
Yes, people just carving.
Do you know how hard it is to make a D20 in the 6th century Britain? It's no joke.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
So that's how it kind of sort of potentially probably happened.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's my TED talk, my PhD.
It's a perfect TED talk. We're gonna now market this as a TED talk.
Yeah.
So, I guess who would have been like some of the big names that you read prior to writing, and then maybe even now, like, that continue to influence your writing?
Oh, right. Well, as I say, there was Ian Banks. I'll be honest, I haven't actually read all that much fantasy. I'm obviously very influenced. If you like Joe Abercrombie, then Pennyblade's probably your cup of tea. I'm trying to figure out, did you have Peter McLean on here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind. I've been loving his stuff. And Anna Smith Sparks and George R. R. Martin, of course. So I don't know if I've been all that much in the. There's a long history to fantasy, isn't there? Maybe I'm a little bit unconnected to that. I did absolutely like. He was H.P. Lovecraft's mate who wrote fantasy, not Conan, the other guy. I want to say Corvain Smith, but he's the sci-fi, right? Oh God, he wrote all the sort of Dying Earth ones. I read that actually as well. The Book of the New Sun.
Mm-hmm.
That was very good. What's his name?
Wolf.
Yeah. That was very deep and poetic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to spread out my fantasy reading at the moment. I'm really getting into that. So mainly I've been a sci-fi reader. And maybe that shows there's a bit more sort of reasoning and logic, whatever, to the stories. I don't know.
So not just hacking and slashing with somebody to get their way.
It's not. Yeah, there's some deep thought.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to approach it, because a lot of fantasy writers say, I've been reading fantasy for years, and you read what you write, kind of thing, and you've just completely gone against the mold. You're like, nope. I'm sci-fi all the way. I've read a few fantasy books. Here's my fantasy book.
In some quarters, it's called hubris. I don't know. In defence, I would say I also did a classical studies degree, and I'm into history. So that's a big. I think that maybe balance. I can sort of because I've read a lot in that area. I've seen how cultures can be different from the culture we're in. Mm-hmm. In the past, you look at something like the Minoans, that's just far out, or the Incas or whatever. And I think I'm all right at imagining, hypothetically coming up with a new civilization and go, how would that work if you tinkered with this and that? So I'm good there, really. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But maybe I should read it a bit more. I don't know.
I'm not going to tell you should, but you probably should know.
But
I'm the same as you do. Like I came to it like super late. I mean, I've only been reading fantasy, for the past like 6-7 years. I mean, even then, it's mostly debuts that I've been reading. I mean, I try to go back and read some of the series that come out the past decade or two. I haven't done a whole lot of like previous to 2000, which, I mean, probably shame on me, but it's not as interesting to me, I guess. Yeah, like, I'm not sitting here like reading the entire Wheel of Time and stuff like that, because I've tried several times to read the first book, and I'm just like, it's not, but you have all those people, you gotta get the first like 3 or 4 books, and it gets like really good. It's like telling everybody to get through the first season of Game of Thrones. I'm like, no, like it.
Yeah,
I don't want to put all that effort into it, because if I get to book 5 and I still don't like it, like I don't. I don't get that time back.
Yeah. That's the problem. I mean, like with the TV, it's like, I know I should watch Breaking Bad or Mad Men, but it's like I think about it and I go, no, I could just go on YouTube and watch something like this.
Yeah.
And
Now I will say Breaking Bad is really good. I haven't watched Mad Men,
Is
but
it?
Breaking Bad is good.
Yeah.
I'm actually
Oh,
I'm over halfway through the 5th season of The Last Kingdom. If you haven't watched that, it's phenomenal.
oh yes, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I should give that a go. Really,
you
that looks.
should. Yeah,
Yeah,
see, like I haven't watched Peaky Blinders. A lot of people that say they love Pete McLean stuff. Love Peaky
yeah,
Blinders.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's
is
just
it?
down the road from here, actually, where all that went on.
Oh, really?
Well, about 60 miles, but yeah, yeah,
It's closer than I am.
yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I feel like we've just gotten to a point though in the past, I guess say decade, that there's just so much out there that it's really impossible to keep up with all of it. And if you try to, you're gonna burn yourself out. So like you have to be really picky and choosy and go, okay, I'll get to that eventually 10 years down the road when I can get the entire series for like $15.
Are you like a one-shot kind of guy? Do you like a debut one-shot books or?
Sometimes. So like there are a lot of fantasy debuts that turn into trilogies that I'll read. That I'll get to the sequels later. Just depends on, I guess, how invested I get in the first book, and how long it takes for the second book to come out. Like if it's over a year, then it'll be more difficult for me to kind of get it in the loop, I guess. But there's so many debut novels coming out now that it's so hard to keep up.
Yeah.
You got so many publishers, you've got smaller publishers, you've got self-published, and it's like trying to make everybody happy is not possible, which is why I have 37 bloggers on my site, because like I can't do it by myself, guys.
37
37.
That's like a platoon.
I know. Now, not everybody is like, day to day, week to week kind of thing, but like, everybody at least gets their couple a month. And you got to keep it churning. I mean, granted, there are several that like all read the same book and review it. Like, I think John Gwynn's Shadow of the Gods got like 11 reviews last year. Ryan Cahill's of Blood and Fire got like, oh gosh, I don't know, like 12 or 13. Like it, but mostly like we kind of spread our reads out. Like we've got several people that love sci-fi more than fantasy and vice versa. We've got some that read romance, horror, thrillers. So I've tried to expand it. But yeah, you still can't keep up with what all's out there.
So that Brandon Sanderson's going to hit you like a wave, isn't he? He's got 5 novels coming out all at once. That's everyone.
Now I will admit I did back it because I do want them, but it's like okay, I get 4 door stoppers in a year. Awesome.
That'll keep you busy.
Yeah, the only way I've been able to really keep up with stuff is audiobooks, and honestly, even recently it's been difficult. It's job changes and kid being home more and stuff. It's been like, okay, when can I get like an hour to myself where I can get 120 pages read and whatever. So but yeah, it's fantasy is just, it's not going anywhere, and like I said, trying to just keep up with the 100 200 so authors that I try to keep up with is growing. But if everybody could just like release every other year, I think I could probably
That's the least.
But at the same time, everybody's gonna like make a living, what's that like? So
I think publishing breathing space would be nice, wouldn't it?
Like, what if like Penguin could just like take a year off, just like let Tor get a few out,
Yeah, that'd be nice. Sort of rotate it.
Yeah. Just for the readers. The writers like just keep writing. Go ahead and get paid, and then like you can release your book later.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Can't state that enough.
Yeah, it's exactly like, you can go ahead and pay us. It's fine if it's 2 years down the road. We'll get there. I'll go ahead and write during that 2-year hiatus. Oh jeez. Yeah. So as far as your writing goes though, so I know you've written a science fiction duology that's been out for a couple of years, and now you've got Pennyblade. As far as your writing process, so somebody who doesn't read a ton, but has already now written 3 complete novels. Has your process changed from the beginning? How does your process work? Do you outline everything? Do you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants to write everything? What's your process like?
Well, that's it. Yeah, it's changed a bit. It's all mainly based around character. Like with the science fiction, the feral space duology, that was I think that was actually a lot of that was the wargaming world. Okay, we mentioned earlier. That was there, and I had some characters in it. But the sort of the seed idea of that book was, what if there was like a planet where people were raised to have several personalities at once, and like sort of. And so that's, in a way, that's a sci-fi idea, but it's a character idea. So I sort of go along and do that. And then with Pennyblade, I just really got into that. I went the idea of, okay, let's think of a character, really get into it, and then a lot of the not both storylines, but the storyline in Pennyblade that's sort of on the mainland, sort of the human realm. I just made the world through her eyes as she's going along. Mm-hmm. There was a bit more thought in the other story strand, but I quite like that. I really enjoyed that. Just sort of coming up with stuff on the hoof.
Yeah.
And hopefully it doesn't look like it's ramshackle. It's actually a really good way of doing it, because you sort of trying to outpace yourself all the time. Yeah, you don't want to stop writing, but you got to keep thinking ahead. I really enjoyed that. And yeah, I just really like characters. I really like getting into their world and letting them chat to each other in a scene.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've had a lot of other writers say that. It's I might sound a bit weird, but it does feel like you're shooting a scene, and you've got actors, and some characters are better at coming up with random stuff than others. Which sounds absolutely nuts, because I know they're in my head.
Right.
Yeah. but and it's like, and they'll just come up with stuff, and they'll come up with stuff I didn't expect. And so if you kind of make it up on the hoof, then it's really exciting, because they'll come up with stuff, and you sort of feel their tug as you sort of go along. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what I'm in it for, really. And fantasy is really good for character. Perhaps more so than sci-fi. I think people really like character in fantasy. Mm-hmm. It's almost as much as they're doing, I don't know, romance or whatever. That's I enjoy the multiplicity of people in my brain.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to do it, because you kind of you see the world expanding through your character's eyes, rather than already having this world built where your characters explores it. So I'm interested to see how that is, because that I feel like a lot of authors will do. Well, I mean, I say a lot, but I feel like some will do world building first, and then characters come later, and then they'll do characters first, then world building comes later. And I'm all about character driven novels anyway, fantasy, science fiction, etc. Now, granted, like thrillers and horror, it's a little different, because it's I feel like that you're there for the scares, or you're there for the twist and stuff like that. But yeah, for fantasy, it's like, am I drawn to the character? Am I willing to invest my time in this character and see their path forward, and then what comes later on? So yeah, I like that way of doing it, because it's just like like playing a video game. Like you want to explore everything, and so your character's seeing it for the first time, and the characters within the game are seeing you for the first time, and your interactions with those basically depict how the rest of your adventure is going to go.
It's like playing Dragon Age. Is that the game? Yeah, Dragon Age, but also programming it a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
As you're playing.
It's like you already know you're going to the next town, so what's going to happen in that town?
So like part of the back half of your brain's going, quickly lay out build the walls, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's but I'd say my advice, writing, my trick is, if I've got an idea for a world, the next question is, who would have the worst kind of time in this world, or have the most problematic time? And if I start with a character, it's like, what's the worst kind of crap I can put them into? It's quite cruel, really. But if you want to create plot, that's a good because it's going to be one or the other, and see what comes out of it, really.
I like just putting this character in. What is the worst thing I can do to this person, and how are they going to get out of it?
He's a great guy. How can I ruin his day?
upstanding citizen, really cares for his family and his country.
Yeah. To be honest, I tell you, I think all fictional characters should put out some kind of whatever against me. One of those
like a grievance
things. He's triple that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Please don't let him write me, please.
Don't let him in here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, can you tell the audience what your fantasy debut novel Pennyblade is about?
Oh right, yeah. It's about 400 pages. I bet you get that joke.
Show the cover again. Yeah.
Look at that
This is the arc.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Lovely.
It's neat, yeah, and it's very shiny off a ring light.
Yeah, that's part of the charm.
Yeah,
part of the design.
It's a holographic cover. If you guys didn't,
It's incredible. So are the pages. You just sort of
it's kind of gleam into your eyeballs.
Yeah. You feel like you're in Minority Report or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically it's a first-person fantasy, a gritty sort of grimdark kind of tale, or louche dark maybe, or something, or lewd dark. I don't know what you want to call it. It's the next stage, and it's about a mercenary, and she's a sort of a fallen aristocrat, and she's running from her past, living in the moment, and then her past is catching up with her, and the sort of the clever bit is that there's two story strands where you see her in the present getting by for a few coins, stabbing people, all of that, and then 5 years before, when she was like living in a big tower in this sort of isle, she's actually not human. She's a race called the Comrak, or Comrash, or Comrach. I don't want to tell people how to pronounce it. You come up with your own.
Listen to the audiobook, you'll figure it out.
Yeah, listen. I don't know what they're going to do on the audio book. But they're basically elves. It's sort of a play on that, mucking around with the trope, because I think there hasn't been like much in the way of elves in fantasy books these days. They're a bit uncool. Mm-hmm. So I thought, right, well, I'm cool. No one's ever questioned that. And so I thought I'd just come in and make them cool again.
There you go.
I'll do something different with them. And she's one of them, and it's and it's a stabby adventure, lots going on,
Stabby adventure like that. And on the back cover it does say, for fans of Joe Abercrombie, Nicholas Eames, and Scott Lynch. So
there you go.
I can get the Abercrombie and Lynch vibes. What's the Nicholas Eames vibe? Do you have a lot of music represented in your novel? Is it very humorous, or is it just very humorous?
There's lots of dark humor.
You got my heart then.
Yeah. It's all very quippy, and they're all playing off each other, and mainly bickering. I like bickering humor. Maybe that's a British thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Nicholas Eames did it. David Ragg is another one that's done the very dark humor. The banter between the mercenaries and so forth. So that's definitely my kind of style. So I like to hear that.
You'd have to, I think, wouldn't you? If you were to, hang on.
Didn't set it up too great.
Yeah, that's the. It's cringy.
Covers, man, I tell you.
Yeah. Well, for that book, it's like like your parents are talking about it to someone, and you're there in front of them. It's just had a cringe moment. It's like, shut up, Dad. It's so embarrassing.
Don't, Dad. Oh my gosh.
It's at that difficult age.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were we talking about?
Oh, we were talking about Nicholas Eames, so it's the dark humor and stuff. Yeah.
He puts the rock and roll in there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a Spotify playlist for your song or for your book?
No. I can't say as I have. It would all be like guys in tights playing loops, I suppose. Whatever, it'd be a bit weird. It'd be all weird, oldie worldy music. Because I think Eames is a bit of a genius, really. He's meshed two. Yeah, he's really made a Venn diagram of two things that are. Because if you're like a fantasy reader, you're gonna like a lot of rock, I think.
Mhm. Oh yeah, you're gonna like, you know, hair bands and heavy metal and
a bit of that. And Led Zeppelin were down with the Tolkien, weren't they? They're always whipping out a bit of Lord of the Rings in there.
Oh yeah, you know, throw some shouts to Mordor, and you know, come on
well that you know, that's, That's
so and you've I guess Pennyblade currently as it stands is a standalone, correct?
yes, yeah. I mean, you know, that all depends on the muse and also sales. Those two together may, you know, decide whether I would love to write more. I love a lot of characters in there. If I can do, I'd write about 10 or whatever. But you know, I'm not Brandon Sanderson.
I'm just gonna go ahead. Just gonna write down. Jim says he will write 10 novels. We'll see if he holds to it.
Actually, I'm right here, right now. I'm announcing my Kickstarter. I haven't written 5 novels during COVID, but it's the sort of thing I would have done.
You know, if the mood struck, you know.
Yeah. I'm quietly confident this is going to be the biggest Kickstarter of all time. This is where it begins. But yeah, no, you know, so I would love to write more. As it is, I'm writing another book that from the same publishers that's set in the same world.
Okay.
But it's a different set of people. So you know, that's a different way in. So as it stands, there's 2 standalones. But I would happily write more of Pennyblade, or indeed this new one, which I can't really talk much about, really. I guess.
I mean, you know, we can talk about it off camera. It's fine.
Yeah. It's basically like Pennyblade, a bunch of bozos getting into trouble, as all the best fiction is, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because if they weren't getting into trouble, you know, who cares, right? They're all do-gooders.
Yeah, gotta put them in the crowd. So basically, yeah, more sales means more Pennyblade.
More sales.
Also, yes, buy
the book. Yeah.
Buy the book. I think you know, soft sold it there.
Yeah. So, soft promo, no big deal.
Yeah.
Well, James, I appreciate you taking the time to come and chat with me today. I know I'm looking forward to reading Pennyblade. I mean, if Anthony Ryan says to read it, then I definitely need to read it.
He's got the right idea, mate.
He does.
Yeah, you want to listen to him.
You should listen. You should always listen to Anthony Ryan.
He told me to grow this mustache, and I have no regrets. True story. Just emailed me out of the blue one day. He's like that. He's just classic Ryan.
Classic Ryan. Well, awesome. Well, best of luck with Pub Day. It comes out March 29th. I don't know if that's the same in the States as in the UK.
I believe so.
So it'll be an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. So definitely make the opportunity to go give him a pre-order. And more sales equals more books. So go and do that.
More sales. Hypnotism.
Absolutely. And best of luck with the current work that you're working on. And definitely go read some more fantasy books if you get the time.
Yeah, I'm absolutely will. Can I say thank you for all the work you've been doing? I watched the TBR con, and that was great fun. You know, awesome. All of that.
Well, I appreciate your support. It's always nice to hear to people that check out the interviews and check out the conventions and so forth. It's always nice to hear people actually watch them. So
yeah. Can't get enough of it. That's you know, you're doing great work.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, we'll definitely do this again soon. I'm looking forward to having you on TBRCon next year.
Oh
yeah. Man, it's forever away, but it's gonna happen. And enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. You too.
Thanks, James.